everyone, it's Alpha Marina here, and today's video is a little bit of a wild card because I'm going to be talking about why I want to be an art teacher. I talked about this in my art journey back in 2021 when I uploaded that video. I recently rewatched the last part of it when I talked about my first semester at the time being at an art school, being an art student at that school, and I really still feel the same way about what I'm doing. I'm glad I changed my major from elementary education. I feel like that was definitely the right choice I made, probably was the best choice I made thus far, because had I stuck in elementary education, I would have been so miserable. But I'm just happy where I am, and I'm just hoping I can get into the master's program so I can teach art, because without a master's degree, you can't teach art education in this public school where I live. So without further ado, I'll talk about my reasoning for wanting to become an art teacher with some examples, some of my own experiences, some of what I've observed, and let's go. The reason I want to be an art teacher is because I'm very passionate about art and I want to impart that to the next generation, but I'll get to that last part later. I feel like everyone that's been in school, that's ever worked with students or whatever, and one that's been in a school setting, I feel like they know and they can tell when someone absolutely hates their job. And yeah, it really rubs off on the students. It just brings down their mood. And yeah, it's just not good for anyone involved. Now that I mentioned that, I am thinking about this languages teacher from when I was in middle school, this private school I went to. He was definitely the most qualified person for the job. Maybe a little overqualified, but I guess you can kill two birds with one stone when you can teach Latin and Spanish to middle school students. And yeah, I guess that's good for the school. But for him, he just was a very cranky, miserable old man who just didn't like kids for some reason. He only liked the kids that sat down and shut up and did their work. But this is middle school we're talking about. The hormones are all over the place. They're like, crazy! Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that enthusiasm is contagious. I work with kids a little bit because part-time jobs don't really take up my time as much as full-time school. I'm taking 15 credits a semester, as always. And the kids' energy is very much up there. They're energetic, sometimes just loud. I don't really mind the loudness too much as long as it's not overstimulating me. But when they're really enthusiastic, it really rubs off on me. And when I'm enthusiastic, it rubs off on them. And I really think that enthusiasm is contagious because if people really like what they do, the students can catch on to that and they become more enthusiastic. The second reason why I want to be an art teacher is because I want to inspire kids. I think I talked about this in my art journey video from 2 years ago, and I mentioned this middle school art teacher who is absolutely phenomenal at what she does. She's amazing, she's one of my favorite teachers I ever had, and she was just overall invested in the students' growth as artists, and she was so happy when I told her that I wanted to become an art teacher because of her. It just really goes to show how much of an impact you have on these kids when you do your job right. I taught pottery a little bit ago, and the kids were really enthusiastic. They were happy to actually be building their own thing with their own hands. And when they beam with pride at what they made, when I bring it back for them to glaze it, and when I bring it back all glazed when it's in the kiln for a second time, they are really enthusiastic. They're like, oh my god, it's so shiny. Oh my god, this is amazing. And I just really love seeing that. And there's always going to be outliers who just don't want to be there or are just frustrated. And I'm trying to work hard on trying to be helpful to those students. But I'm 21. I don't have much experience, but I feel like this is only gonna get better the more you do it. And the third and probably the most important reason why I want to become an art teacher is because I have this natural instinct and tendency to want to help people. I struggled a lot with my mental health in high school, and it was really hard to deal with all these thoughts, all this pain, all this trauma. But I definitely had this guidance counselor in my corner. She was amazing. She was helpful. She went above and beyond when she didn't even have to. And I'm grateful to her for even being there for me, even when she couldn't be at my new school. Like, I transferred from Catholic school to public school after my freshman year, but I don't want to talk about the logistics of that right now. So when I was a junior in high school about like 5 or so years ago, I was seriously thinking about what I wanted to do. Like, junior in high school in America is like the hardest year, they say. They're like, you gotta get your SATs, ACTs, figure out what schools you want to go to. And I was thinking about being a guidance counselor. I was seriously kind of like, I don't know what I want to do. Like any 17-year-old would be. Like, what would they know about what they want to do? They have an idea of what they want to do. Some people, definitely. But it wasn't until like college that I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I think I talked about that in my art journey video. So for a while, I thought I was going to be a psychology major. But I kind of got turned off by that when I saw the amount of classes I had to take pertaining to science, and I'm not really a sciencey person. Well, I can be if it's done right, but it's a very conditional thing. Art's mainly my thing that I am consistently passionate about. I also think that every student ever has had that one teacher that they feel that they can go to for literally anything. Boy problems, girl problems, they problems, blah 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 blah. Like school problems, personal problems, anything under the sun. I know I definitely did. And I just want to be emotionally available to these students. Obviously, I'm going to have boundaries because I can't be their therapist because I'm not really wanting to be trained to do that, even though I did for like a little bit in junior year. But I just want to be empathetic and kind and compassionate to these students because you never know what they're going through. Some may have bad homeless, some may be abused, some may be like living under the poverty line or something. And you really don't know what's happening. You just have to be there for them. And it just takes a listening ear and some compassion to do that. And another side note, kids have very big emotions. They're not many adults. They don't process things the way a 30-year-old or a 21-year-old would process, or even a 16-year-old. Their brains are like different. I'm not a psychology person, but yeah, can the psychology person let me know if I'm phrasing this correctly, any of that stuff correctly, because I am not good at that. So let's say a kid is having a bad day because of something that you perceive to be a minor inconvenience. The last thing they need is for someone to tell them to get over it. And you can definitely provide a different perspective of things, like, but don't be a jerk about it. They have big emotions and they don't know how to handle it as well as an adult can. But I just don't really think that telling them to get over it is the way to go. That's invalidating. And if you invalidate them, they're just not going to come to you for their problems. Is that really what I want? I want to be there for the kids, but I also have to have some boundaries. Another side note, I'm autistic. That means I don't really see things the way another person would. Like, no two people are alike. But what makes me different is that my brain is wired in a different way. That's what I've heard. Maybe that's why the term neurodivergent exists. And I do remember back in my elementary years, I would have like meltdowns over like being overstimulated, being disrupted, being whatever, like that kind of stuff. And there were like some teachers that were just really, really rude about it, annoying, jerky about it. And they were like, get over it. It's not that bad. You're 10 years old. Grow up. Even if the kid in question is not neurodivergent or anything like that, I still don't think that's an okay thing to say. You never know what's going on in their home life. And you just want to be there for them. And you just don't want to alienate them. They spend a lot of their time in school. You might as well try to make it a little bit easier if they don't like it, you know? So that's gonna be it for today. I know this video is a little short, but I don't want to go off on a tangent for too long. Thank you so much for watching. Click that subscribe button, like my video, and I'll see you around.